Hello and welcome back to Car Design Dialogues Asia. We're very pleased you could join us. Now, before I introduce the next session, I'd just like to remind you to reach out to your fellow guests and build up that important network of contacts through our chat platform. Now, on to the next session with Dassault Systems, and it's called The Age of Experience. And to explore the Age of Experience, we've got Asensio, who's Vice President of Design Experience at Dassault, and Thomas Balle, the Worldwide CATIA Design Director, also, of course, Dassault Systems. Welcome, guys.
Hello. Hi, James.
Hello, James.
Hi, lovely to have both of you with us. Seems like an obvious jumping off point, but I'm going to ask you if you could just explain a little bit for our audience what you guys do, just for those who are unfamiliar, and even for those who are familiar and need reminding.
Yeah, well, we work at Dassault Systèmes. It's a global leader in 3D software. It's very well known in the car industry, in the aerospace industry. But since close of our 40 years of operation, because we being born in 81, we now cover all of the industries. So design is, per se, used to be just the part that was very important for the car design. But we today serve any kind of design experience proposition with our software that now is not a software anymore. It's a platform with very rich application, scientific application, allowing us to actually tackle the most complex challenges of our times.
Wonderful. And I know there's also, you do a lot of research, which obviously feeds into your design, your design and the ethos of your company. One thing that has loomed large in all our eyes, I suppose, has been the pandemic. And I know, in keeping with your guys' design research ethos, you've been out and speaking to people, very, very sort of luminaries, I suppose, of the design industry to get their opinions on how the landscape has changed. And I wonder if we could roll that video.
My name is Takumi Yamamoto, the owner of my company, Takumi Yamamoto, and the principal designer.
My name is Amco Leenaerts. I'm design director Ford of Europe.
My name is Antonio Pezzella. I work as a CAD specialist for Neo Design in Munich.
Hello, my name is Barry Hale. I'm currently a design consultant working in the Class A surfacing and visualization industry.
Hi, my name is Dave Merrick. I'm the Executive Creative Director for Acura.
Hello, hi, my name is Sang-Yab Lee. I'm a head of Hyundai and Genesis Design.
My name is Luca Borgogno, and I'm the Chief Design Officer of Automobili Pininfarina.
Hello, my name is Patrick Le Charpy. I'm in charge of the Mobilize design team within the Group Renault.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pierre Leclerc, and I'm head of design for the Citroën brand.
So that's a really good question, how we transform the way we work. Throughout the time, we were able to take away the uncertainty that we had once in a while, where we're so used to verify things in physical and get excited around it. We couldn't really do that as much during the pandemic. So we needed to do that in a digital world. That worked a lot better. One of the projects we've been doing was the P1 Team Fordzilla show car. That one we didn't saw in reality until it actually arrived in the studio.
The pandemic lockdown did evolve the way I work in a much more efficient way. I'm working from home over 1 year now, and that does show a lot of advantages, such as a much better communication between departments. There is a lot less talking and more working.
Obviously, there are those that like to have sort of face-to-face contact, because sometimes being able to sort of share ideas and scribble notes or draw on sort of whiteboards is very important.
I think what's happened is it's the social aspect is missing for sure. I think you need that interaction with designers and modelers to just kind of work through things and feed off of each other. So that's missing. Whatever you do, you literally are going to look at a physical model. So that went away. So how do you do that? And some of it is virtual reality. Some of it is somebody with a camera or an iPad walking around and looking at the car. And some of it works great. The virtual reality part works great because you can do colorways and you can switch out like different IP, different seats, things like that. So if you have, let's say we have a clay model in Los Angeles. So we do this car and we work on it all day, tape it, move things around, then scan it. Then overnight, it can be like milled in Japan. So they have the same clay model and they can work on it all day, scan it, send data back, and so forth. So then you could almost go 24 hours a day. So if you work that out of how to embrace technology, then I think you can still see it in person and really look at it and manipulate it and then send it back and then go back and forth that way.
A lot of rethinking of our way of working, introducing as much as possible three-dimensional data, virtual reality, and of course, online communication. Right now, we can organize a much more dedicated meeting, for example, for configuration or to find the correct way to go forward with the projects. And this is extremely important for us because we can get a much more familiar relationship with the people that are around our brand, with our partners, the customers.
First phase was a lockdown from a day to another. We had to be back home and continue the projects, the ongoing projects from home. Good surprise was the creative output, because you all know we are working digital process first. In fact, we miss a lot of details, a lot of subtlety working on small screens. So we had to adapt. What we are discovering is what is missing now after more than 1 year of pandemic is a relationship between people, the informal, I would say, meetings around a coffee, free discussions, not only professional centric. Human link is missing today.
And we try to do our best for the first couple of months. But I would say we have teams that are happy to work in a new way, and we became as efficient as before, if not more efficient. We're doing most of our work in digital. We work with augmented reality helmets and all these tools. So thanks to those digital tools, we found great ways of working in between designers and modelers. The creative phase is probably the only thing where the only phase where we want our designers to work together close to each other, at least for maybe 3 days a week, because you know as well as me that the best designers in the world alone in the garage will never be able to come up with a design that is as good as when they're in between team members and influenced by their creativity as well.
But with the evolution of the technology, like immersive technology or AR, VR, it will be much easier for me to collaborate with my clients all over the world. I used to travel a lot before pandemic. For instance, I traveled to Japan 12 times per year. But this year I didn't travel any, and I still managed to produce a flying car.
I think in the car design world, we definitely moved from a pure and only product focus to more of a human central focus. So I'm not saying that we didn't design cars for humans before, we always did. But now we are more designing around the senses and the way that we want to stimulate and emotionalize the product. So I would say it's more of a holistic experiment. I'm setting up what I call the Experience Lab, the Ford of Europe Design Experience Lab. And we really going to test a lot of things on how we can innovate in this way. And you know, it's beyond interiors, or it's beyond UI. It's really the holistic way of looking at product use and emotional attachment to it. So we are going to continuously evolve the product and its experience in a much more in a way where we connect to the customer a lot more deeply.
I think the role of a cast modeler is going to evolve thanks to the new coming technologies in the design studios. A few examples would be the introduction of VR headsets that are removing more and more the physical assets, like clay work, when it comes to decision making. All of this, in addition to the fact that this working role can be done remotely from anywhere on the planet. So I expect the remote work option would be mandatory if companies want to keep their best employees on board. But it will also open new job opportunities for experts who do not want to relocate.
So I do believe that there are already changes going on board in all of the automotive industry to take on board the fact that we are now using alternative power sources. This in itself allows us to free up the way the vehicles are designed. And I also see the impact of autonomous vehicles. And I think because the vehicles are less likely to sort of impact each other, is that the safety cells can be maybe slightly adjusted so that we can make much use of more other alternative materials that can be used by 3D printers.
I think that the workflow, let's say in 10 years, that I can see us literally being able to sketch or think something in 3D, you know, whatever tool you're using to do that, and actually have it be milling while you're thinking it. It's in my head. I've thought of what I want this image to be. So then if you add 3D to that, and then you add multiple versions of that, you know, real time as you're thinking it, then I think you think that's science fiction, but it's not. It's not that far away. I say I like this one, then I think maybe I like this one, maybe I like this one, but they're all kind of real time. As you manipulate them, you can see it right then. I want to see what that looks like right here. And you could do that, but it's a 3D entity actually right there. So I think that that's how technology should aim. You know, you add in the buyer demographic, anything that you have from a concept of who's buying it, what is it, what's it for, what do they carry, you know, what's their personal, like where do they fit into the chart of millennial or boomer or whatever. You can plug all that in almost immediately. So I think using those tools, I think you can speed up the process, and ergo you could make more versions of that and then decide on the appropriate one or the best one or what you think would resonate.
Design doesn't have to be work at the design center all the time. It can be remotely done all different places. That gives a level of the freedom for each designer to be able to deliver the work in a different environment and different situation. Throughout the digitalization, we're able to have more collaborative environment to working together. For example, we have 8 different global design centers, and they all lived in a different time zone. So if Korea does do something work, and at the end of the day, we pass to Europe, then Europe take over and do the work, and then at the end of the day, they can pass to US. So theoretically, we're able to work 24/7, and this will definitely continue. It will change the way we work, how we think, and how we actually develop in the car.
The work of a designer is changing really much. It's not only anymore thinking about pure styling, but a lot more about the 360 degrees views on what the company should do, what it should be delivered to the customer, and how the product can be put together.
My role, my job during all those years I've spent designing cars was about designing nice looking cars, taking care of aerodynamics, okay, in order to create emotional vehicles. My job is changing a lot. Now I'm in charge of designing the whole experience of mobility, starting from the cell phone, okay, designing the experience within the vehicle, creating the link with the customer, taking care of the environment, of recyclability, of circular economy. So it's a total change of scope I'm facing now.
I think we have to embrace all the changes of the society and come up with new solutions. The automobile like we know it is probably not the best answer for everyday usage in every ecosystem. So with an ecosystem that is evolving quite a lot, we need new answers. And this for me is a very, very exciting part of our job in the next 5-10 years. And of course, it's called mobility. And I imagine products that are going to be completely disruptive and that will create services that will surprise all of us in a very positive way.
We need to continue to emphasize investment into the digital tools moving forward.
Obviously, digitalization really helped us to go through a lot of difficulty.
Customers are still in love with the car industry.
With this chance, we will have more immersive technology installed in our actual design development process.
So I think going forward, the tools that can speed the process up, or the tools that make that happen easier, you know, whether it's the environment of sound, touch, the 5 senses. So you see lighting, you see, you know, what are you hearing? All of that stuff combined into software so you can test it ahead of time.
Try to deliver as much as possible beautiful, sustainable, luxury performance products with Italian style.
My dream, okay, would be to have the tools, or to get in the close future the tools in order to make people work physically, digitally, closer together.
Wonderful. A veritable who's who there of designers. And I'd love to welcome back Anne and Thomas now to the discussion. Fascinating video, fascinating insights from some very, very well-known names in the industry. Picking up on one of the themes that came through loud and clear there, Anne, how much is this post-pandemic world a chance to revisit and sort of redesign the framework for design practice and operations in the car industry?
So the reason I wanted to collect this beautiful collection of insight, because they say things much better than we would have done it ourselves, Thomas and myself. The reason is because I think the evolution has been tremendous. The acceleration of the use of digital tools have been very important. But what's the most important thing is, you know, the role that we have here at Dassault Systèmes in the design studio is actually to be really on the research perspective, try to understand where the usage of those technology really impact the way the designers in the car industry are leveraging those, but also for us, because we also are a design studio, we are using those technology every day. You know, I'm currently using my platform in a daily basis to check on of my you know, project, and I've realized that this has been somewhere maybe very difficult for some people, but a real blessing, because we learn a lot. We learn a lot, and we have seen that having a platform where you have a persistent 3D model, where your assets are there, where collaborative information, collaborative chat with embedded media that you are basically using in a day-to-day when you are a designer, it's really key. It's really key. So for a lot, it has been a very rough and rude acceleration in those tools, and a lot of test and not so successful way of doing things. Some surprises when they looked at the cars at the end from this long pandemic time where people were working from home. But this is really good, and that's why we wanted to have this said by this community. Now about the practice, very quickly. So with Thomas have a team of very talented experts that are really people who are working, are the same people that you can find in design studios in the car industry. And the design studio, we are really projecting. You see Dave Merek thinking about this is the way I see things. They are not such thing than just being very strategic and also very deeply and profoundly hands-on in the way you are doing this. So we are providing tools within the 3D Experience platform, but tools are nothing if you don't have people behind those with imagination and with a very important way to resolve the challenges. There were things that are being said, the electrification, the autonomous, the in-vehicle experiences, the fact that we are basically designing cars as a software. For us, it's meaning something because we are a software company. I worked 30 years in the car industry, Thomas also. Now working with in a software company and looking at how we can help a car company to actually design cars as a software makes perfect sense.
No, it seems a natural transition. I suppose the challenge is for OEMs is how smooth they make it. And I wondered, Thomas, picking up on that, if you could maybe unpack a little bit about your sort of design philosophy and how it feeds into this idea of, helping OEMs move towards this new software sort of design landscape, as it were.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to remind everybody what's the purpose of Dassault. So we have a mission statement, I would say, and that is about harmonizing product life and nature. So it's a very wide view on things, if you will. But if I take it back a little bit, I would say that's probably what I define as a good design. And we try to transform that idea, that statement, into what we offer on a software level. It's very easy on that. So for me, I think the important part here is we're moving from product design to experience design. You could clearly hear that from the interviews. And I think that is really the paradigm shift that we need to take care of. And I'm happy to work in Dassault Systems, to be honest, because we embarked on that journey like 10 years ago already. So, I mean, some people are waking up to the fact now, and we've been there for a while already. So for me, it's nothing new. So I'm trying to evangelize people on we are there. We could provide that transformation support. And this is what we're going to see, hopefully, a little bit later.
Yeah, and there's nothing like a bit of a head start, is there, Thomas? And if you're 10 years ahead of the game is obviously helpful. I suppose we do talk about this idea of designers having to move to think a little bit more about the experience. And Amco did talk about that in the video, actually, about this this idea of being human-centric and not that they hadn't designed cars for humans, of course, because they weren't designing them for cows, but it's a really interesting position that we're in. And Anne, perhaps you could explain perhaps this new skill set that's required by people, the sort of people that you recruit at Dassault.
Yes, it's not just about the skills, it's also the way we engage in the company. So as Thomas was saying, we move from product to experience. Always, at any time, designers are always designers of experiences. But for a long time, we were kind of visualizing this experience through the product. When today, the realm of virtual universe, this what we call also virtual twin experience, where you allow yourself in the conceptual phase to see all of the aspects of this experience. So you not only look at the experience with a human inside, we always had that in mind, but it couldn't be done. It couldn't be done because we had the limitation of what we think and what could be just effectually designed. With clay, you cannot design something you feel, right? With your senses. So this notion of holistic systemic experience requires that we get much more into leveraging those virtual universe in a way where we are designing worlds, designing with our imagination beyond the product. But it's also lead to something very tactical, is if the designers are imagining in the more intimate way we could have those experiences with the way we touch the material, the way we see, we interact with, the way we feel inside, but also how these connect to a car that is not a dead product. It's a live element. It's almost a car that talks, a car that has behaviors, and that goes through electronics. It goes through how you communicate the way you want this experience and how you want to feel this experience, and how do you direct that into the engineering area where you have to actually drive the sensors, the receptors, the controls that will give you the feedback, but also will be basically manage the entire way, the cockpit experience. So in doing so, when before designers were looking at, I would say, craft way of doing things, they are getting now completely in a different set of tools and skills that goes from data, from basically what we call also generative design, designing with data. We are leveraging to be part of what we call the conceptual phase, working with engineering at the very upfront, when before designers were sometimes just given just the cahier des charges and sketch over it. But that phase within the Dassault system is very easy to do because everybody is on the same platform. It's virtual, so you don't have to follow a particular linear process. People can work very upfront, we call it upfront thinking, to define those experiences. And this is very, very a breakthrough. So before we were having styling, we still need style. We still need people on the touch side, but we now need to leverage new skills and have them to work together. And the platform helped to do so.
Thomas, do you want to weigh in there? Because I think there's really an interesting point that Anne's making there about this idea of collaboration, not just internally, but externally. I wondered if you could speak from your vantage point as a design director.
I mean, I'm every day out in the field and I'm talking to customers. And so the problem that we face is that, I mean, we have the statements that digitalization is now moving on, and the COVID was an accelerator for that. But I think there's still a level that we didn't touch with that sort of, we use VR, we get into meetings like this and talk to each other. But there is a different point, and Anne mentioned this. I think it's the 360 view on everything that is related to the product. And I think at the moment, the design studios are lacking that view. So even with that level of digitalization, and the platform, I think, would be the right media to transport this, because it's connecting all the people on a common database, as Anne said, and that allows you really to make informed decision making. So the statements I always hear is we need to be able to review our product or the stage where we are in at any point in time, and this is possibly not something that we can do right now with the common setups that we find today. Because there's a lot of front-loading, data preparation and things to be done. And that is just simply missing on the creative part of things. So with the platform, we think we provide a means to really look at all the different disciplines that are attached to the design. And so for us, it's more about parallelization. So being aware of what's going on at any point in time and having the right data, the right information to make informed decisions.
And if I want,
sorry,
James,
absolutely.
No, I wanted to add, what is quite important is we are living a disruption in the car industry, but it's by fact also leading to a disruption within the car design. We had that disruption in the 80s when we started to actually implement digital tools to do cars. When 3D started, when we started to basically doing surfacing, class A in virtual space, when before every car and every model, I started with plaster and then clay, so I can tell you that this has been quite a long journey. But what I see clearly now at this post-pandemic time, it's another disruption. the description that we just explained, both Thomas and myself, that you have a new responsibility as a designer in a company. You have to basically tackle a very complex set of expertise to actually continue to do your design job. And to do so, you have to get yourself more capable and address areas that you used to leave to engineers or to specialized, to researcher, to technologists, where now it has to be part of your day-to-day journey. So that change, what we call systemic change or system of system design, we call ourselves Dassault System. And we have a great motto. We put design at the center. And at the same time, we have the capability, the scientific tools, the capability to address those very complex societal, environmental challenges. You know, we came up with now very soon with very interesting tools that will enable the designers to design in a circular design way, in a sustainable way, where they will be knowing and tracing and knowing exactly where those materials come from, you know, and starting to design from the material, not starting from the sketch. The sketch still there, but you start to reverse your priorities because we have to work for the 21st century challenges.
I mean, you raise a really interesting point there, Anne, about this idea we are in a period of disruption, and the fact that it's probably been accelerated, well, undoubtedly it's been accelerated by the pandemic, but it's only accelerating what was already going on. I wondered, in your opinion, whether you thought the car industry or car design industry is fully prepared to deal with this disruption, and that probably would be a question for you as well, Thomas.
Thomas, yeah, Thomas, start.
Yeah, so I think no, I don't think they are really prepared for that change. I mean, let's look at it. We have really a lot of global challenges that go way beyond what transportation design is covering at this point. Yeah, but we need to put everything into that perspective. And for me, again, I come back to this sort of holistic view. So there was Amco was saying, I think he wants to create holistic experiences. So for me, it also requires to have a holistic view on what's currently going on, where your product will be placed. So for instance, we had a project going with Virtual Singapore, where the local government tried to do a virtual twin of the whole city or the whole country in order to see how they could develop the city. And I think for cars or mobility or whatever, this is interesting, because if you would be able to connect to those people in a virtual universe or world, to place your product in there, to see how it will interact, and you can test and validate the experience outside even of the car for, let's say, the city and its inhabitants. So it opens up a lot of new avenues that are currently, I think, not really on the radar. So I see in the statement still a little bit of focus on the tools, which is normal because they are craftsmen in a sense. Yeah. But I think we need to widen up that horizon a little bit. And I think the digital tools that we provide can do this, because our history is, you know, we're coming from, you know, simple digital tools to create something, and we move on to very sophisticated digital solutions. Now we are incorporating a lot of data and information, and we get that holistic view now with our platform that could provide all the information that such creative people would need to put themselves in a different position and also to reflect differently about the product.
And to address this question very quickly, James, our customers probably are not ready, but they are starting to, because they are changing their business model. Basically, the ownership is going away. We're going to have to share. We're going to have to embrace the overall experience of the city when you design a car, and you not design a car anymore. You design a device for mobility that will be one answer from a variable of many answers, because with generative design, we can get a large variation of that single proposition. So this notion of one view, dogmatic view of the designer, looking at a car and making his own personal choice, very singular, it probably will go away toward what we call this most ecosystemic approach, where we will need the view of multiple people. Doesn't mean it's crowdsourcing design. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there will still be the judgment of the designer, but we have to now work outside of ourselves, and companies understand that. The challenges are so complex that any company like Renault, we are currently doing this partnership called the Software Republic to actually address, in a much broader scope, this issue of mobility. And this needs that the collaboration of car designers within those companies will have to be made, not just within the company and the engineers, but also with the designers from other company. And by the way, company that may not be car company. They could be energy people, they could be coming from food, they can be healthcare, anything. So we are living really a disruption, but I'm very enthusiastic, as you can see. Within the design studio, we just cannot stop to see and visualize a very exciting potential of what this solution can offer. Yet, if we keep the human at the center, that means designers still need to play a role. They still have to dialogue and discourse with the machine, with the technology, with the software. They have to keep to embrace those technology and move on and just transform their practice. But it's not the end of design. It's just maybe the beginning of a new one.
I'm very pleased it's not the end of design. I'm sure some of the viewers are going to be reassured by that comment. I think what is really, really interesting, or among many things, is this idea that design has generally been the sort of siloed industry, particularly cliches and niches within niches, even exterior designer, interior designer. But now we're actually talking about, as Thomas was saying there, this idea that there is a kind of onus or responsibility for designers and through design software to reach out and play roles that are far, far greater than just the idea of owning or even sharing a car. And we were talking about pretty fundamental stuff here, like city forming, city making, and the future of urbanism.
They are not such a predefined process. Before we were following the process, the only one process. When we have to invent the new process. That's very exciting. Designers are going to be now putting in front of people their way of thinking, not just the product of their thinking. And that, to me, it's a very fundamental and profound change. It's not about following the process or digitalization of the process. It's really having the designers taking the responsibility to embrace their own role, the role they have to play in defining the way we made to engage. And guess what? They are not just one single solution or one single answer. So that's really, really enthusiastic.
Thomas, do you share Anne's enthusiasm for this multiplicity of solutions?
Yeah, of course I do. And I think we are pretty well prepared with our solutions that we offer. I mean, if I look at the challenge, at the extent of the challenge, I see that this can only happen if we have sort of a digital continuum between all the tools that people will be using in the design studio. And looking forward, I think we are well prepared because, we're not delivering point solutions anymore as in the past. We really provide what we call industry processes, which means we bundle all the functionalities or the applications that we need to cover a complete workflow. So we think in workflow and processes at this point in time. And we're not saying we're doing surfacing or we're doing visualization. This is no more the case. And so also from our perspective, we try to adjust our model of how we go to market and how we provide solutions accordingly. And I think this is making really a difference.
Wonderful. I want to pick up just as we're sort of getting towards the end of the session, but there was a very interesting point by Dave Merrick there and made in the video where he talked about designing, the possibility of designing for the 5 senses, and I thought that was a really quite insightful, exciting idea. But I wondered how far away we were from that, or are we there already? I don't know.
So I cannot, since we are at the end of the show, that may be another show. Actually, just for you to know that beyond the tools that we provide and we're very proud of, and we will still roll out some new ones, within the design studio here in Dassault Systèmes, we're doing partnerships programs, research partnership programs. So when we get into something very deep, like engaging on some research solutions that are not for sale, but they are really under development, we do partnership. And that's why we have all of those. These are our friends, they are part of our community. And the relationship here is more like, let's think together, let's work together and develop, because nobody knows really where the best way to go. So we need to really associate our forces, and that's what we do. And actually, we do this project currently with Dave, and there may be some others coming up.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, we are getting towards the end. I know there's a short clip we'd like to show. If we could roll that.
The automotive industry players are on a mission to deliver sustainable mobility that meets the increasing demand from regulators and consumers. To get on track, they need to break silos in a highly complex ecosystem of organizations from different horizons and unite everyone in a single environment. This can be achieved through an integrated platform with the virtual twin that optimizes automotive development, manufacturing, and logistics for attractive mobility experiences with zero emissions, more recyclable materials, and low end-to-end lifecycle footprint. Accelerate a more sustainable future for mobility now on the 3D Experience platform.
Wonderful. Thanks very much for bringing that little tidbit along to round us off. I'm afraid we are out of time. Perhaps we've got material enough for a second session at some point, but for now we'll have to leave it. Thanks so much to Thomas and Anne for joining us at Car Design Dialogues Asia.
Thank you very much.